So for this project, we will need a pair of scissors, darning needle, measuring tape, crochet hook number 5.5, this way, 5.5, and again, you can't see that on my camera, but it's 5.5. And for this hat, I will be using Karen Inspiration Karen Colorado. Recommended crochet hook is 6 millimeters. So I do a magic circle, chain 3, and do 10 double crochets in the circle. That's including the chain 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 and 10. And tighten this up and slip stitch in the top of chain 3. That's row 1. Oops. Okay, chain 3, and in that same space do 2 double crochets together, chain 1 and 2 double crochet together. So we are making V stitches or V double crochet or V cluster stitch. So in each of the spaces between the 2 double crochets, we're going to make a shell like this. So 2 double crochets together, chain 1 and 2 double crochets together. For those of you who are not familiar with this stitch, here it's how it goes. Yarn over, pull up a yarn, and like you're going to do double crochet, do the first 2 loops on the hook, leave these 2, chain over, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 loops. Go through first 2. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, and now pull through all 3 of them. So you just made 2 double crochet together, and then move on to the next space and continue on until you come to the end of the row. Round 2 or 3, slip stitch, which we did. So we slip stitch to the middle of the shell. This round will be just regular shell into shell, no increases, no fuss, no muss. So 3 chains and 1 double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet 2 together. So that's our first shell. Then we move on to the next V stitch. And then find the next V stitch. So you should have 10 V stitches, cluster V stitches at the end of this row. So I got my 10 shells, and I am going to slip stitch in the top of chain 3, and then slip stitch again into the middle of the shell, which is right here. Okay, so now this round will have some increases. I would suggest you use stitch markers to mark every increase. It's easier to count if you lose the count. So chain 3, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet 2 together. And we're gonna do one more regular shell, so go to the next shell and do and now we're gonna do the increase. So we're gonna put the increase between the two V-stitches, double V-stitches. So we just worked in this shell, shell 1, shell 2. Now we're gonna put an increase in here. So just regular double crochet 2 together, chain 1, and double crochet 2 together. So that's our first increase. Put a stitch marker and then repeat. So go 2 shells, and then the increase. So increase will go as middle between the shell we just worked into and the next shell. The increase will be right here. So put an extra shell in here and continue this sequence until the end of the row. Just don't forget to put your marker. I'll meet you at the end of the row. Here we are. So if you remember, we started with 2 regular shells and then we made an increase. So we did 2 shells in between increase, 2 shells in between increase, and so on. So we're ending up, this is my increase. These are 2 shells and these are 2 regular shells. So I still have to make one more increase between these 2 shells. And as always, we're gonna slip stitch to chain 3 of the first shell. Let's move over into the middle of the shell. So if I was making a child, say 7 to 10 years old, I would probably be done with increases because I would have 5 inches. Okay, we are looking for 6 inches. So what we're gonna do is one more row of increases, only this time it's going to be 3 full shells and then 1 increase. So let's chain 2 and finish 2 double crochets with chain 1, and again 2 double crochets 2 together. Double crochet 2 together. So now we have 3 regular shells in between the shell that we just worked in and the next shell. We are going to place an increase shell. Okay, so place your stitch marker and let's remove all the other stitch markers. Okay, so this is the increase we've just made. So again, so this is the increase. You would go 1, 2, 3 full shells and then an increase in the middle. I'll meet you at the end of the row and then we're going to do some measuring again. This is the end of row 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see that we did 3 full shells and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, and you guessed it, increase. So in between the first and the last shell from the previous row, we are putting our last increase. All right, so slip stitch to chain 3 on the first shell and move over to the middle of the shell. Let's measure and see what we have. So I'm making this hat for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. She lives in Austria, and they do have quite bitterly cold winters. And an average head, small female head, would be 21-inch circumference. And then that means that my crown needs to be minimum 6 inches. And that would be to fit size small woman's head. So let's see what we have after finishing row 5. So flatten it, and I got 6 and slightly, maybe 6 1/4, which is perfect. That's all I wanted. So now you can take your stitch markers off your work, because after round 5 we reached our desired width of the crown. That means no more increases, decreases. You're just straightforward chain 2 or 3, whichever you prefer. Sometimes I find 3 stitches are too many, 3 chains are too many. And so row 6 on, we are going to be doing shell in each shell. So here, 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 and so on. So let's do this full rows. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's do 4 more rows, and then we can see where we're at in terms of the height of the hat. I finished row 10. So starting from the middle of the hat, so this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's do some measurements, and then mostly we're looking anywhere between 7.5 and 8 inches. That would be for small to medium head. And if we go from top of the hat to where I am, we are exactly at 6 inches or 15 centimeters. So we need additional, say, 1.5 inches to be 7.5, which is 1.5 inches. And if I measure my 2 rows, that's approximately 1.5 inches. So what we need is have 2 more rows done, and that will get us to mid-ear fitting or height of the hat. So let's do 2 more rows for a total of 12. I finished my 12 rows, and I am going to measure now. It should be around 7.5 inch, oh, 7, there you go. So we have exactly 7 inches or almost 18 centimeters, so 17.5 centimeters. So what we're gonna do now is add a little bit of a border, and just to kind of finish off the beanie. So slip stitch into the middle of this shell. So instead of doing 2 double crochet together V-stitch, we are going to do just a regular V-stitch, which is, and we're going to do this in half double crochet. So chain 2, that's 1/2 double crochet, chain 1 in between, and then another half double crochet. So you created a V-stitch. move on to the next shell, and again do half double crochet, chain one, and half double crochet. On to our next shell, yarn over, pull the yarn through, and get the yarn through all 3 loops on the hook, chain one, and again do half double crochet. So we're going to do this in every shell till the end of the row, and that will just slightly narrow down this beanie to be worn more comfortably around somebody's head. So simple V half double crochet stitches all around. So I'm at the end of my row. We will slip stitch in the next V stitch. Okay, so now chain one, and into that same V stitch middle make a single crochet. You're gonna make 1 in each of the V stitches and 1 between the 2 V stitches, 1 in the middle of V stitch and 1 between. So now we did 1 in the middle. We're gonna do another single crochet between the 2 V stitches, 1 right here. So this is the middle of your V stitch. We're gonna place a single crochet right there. Oops. And then 1 between the 2 V stitches. Even if you look at the previous row, you can see the V stitches. So just put 1 in between the 2 V's, then 1 in the actual V stitch right here in the center, 1 in between. Do that till the end of the row. I'm on my last single crochet, which was done in the center of the V stitch, and the very first single crochet we did in a V stitch. So I'm gonna add 1 more here between the 2 V stitches and slip stitch to the first single crochet. I'm gonna place stitch marker just to make it easier for me to know where to slip stitch at the end of my next round, and at the end of the next round we are done. So what we're gonna do is chain 1 and place a single crochet. So sorry, I'm gonna move my marker right here. So this is our first single crochet we made, and so now what we're gonna do is add a single crochet, or put 1 single crochet into every single crochet of the previous row, and I shall see you at the end of the row. I'm on my last single crochet, so the full 2 little V here is my last single crochet, and I am going to slip stitch into our very first this is your chain 1, and then chain 1. So we are going to remove the slip stitch, the marker, and finish our hat just like that. So chain 1, leave yourself enough tail to weave in the ends. My yarn just started changing colors, I've noticed, so it's kind of lightly purplish here. Don't know if you can probably see the difference, and it is kind of lavender purplish color in the middle. So if I make a scarf out of the same yarn, it's going to be perfect match for this hat. All right, so we cut the yarn, we will weave in the end, and then decide what we're going to do next for our decorations. So you can go something as simple as a couple buttons this side, or something more dramatic and bigger, like green or lime, and then orange. What I chose to do is this. I absolutely adore this hat. I love the color transition, and I think the pom-pom just added a little bit more spice to it. I really appreciate you watching my tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So please post your comments and let me know how I can improve and get better, what you liked or what you didn't like. And until our next project together, take care.